This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Friday, September 20th, 2024. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
Troubling reports surrounding a Republican gubernatorial candidate backed by former President Donald Trump.
Martin Luther King on steroids.
I'm Clayton Neville.
House Republicans move on to Plan B as Senate Democrats say they're ready to prevent a government shutdown. I'm John Stolnis in Washington.
A Kentucky judge was shot and killed in his chambers, and a sheriff was arrested. I'm Sue Aller.
Hunter Biden will be sentenced on federal firearms charges December 4th. I'm Mike Hempen.
On Wall Street, stocks are coming off a rate cut rally. Record highs for the Dow and the S&P 500 index. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
Human remains have been found inside an SUV that authorities say hit an above-ground valve on a pipeline in suburban Houston. I'm Haya Panjwani.
All ahead on America in the Morning. Blockbuster allegations out of North Carolina as the Republican nominee for governor is promising to stay in the race following a damning report that he denies. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports.
North Carolina's Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson is an up-and-comer in the Republican Party.
He's been an unbelievable Lieutenant Governor, Mark Robinson.
Former President Donald Trump has been an adamant supporter of Robinson's with high praise for him.
This is Martin Luther King on steroids. Okay, now, I told that to Mark. I said, I think you're better than Martin Luther King. I think you are Martin Luther King times 2.
This week, CNN reported a series of posts that Robinson allegedly made in a chat room on a porn website between 2008 and 2012. He didn't become lieutenant governor until 2020. In one of those posts, the user said to be Robinson called himself a black Nazi. Posts also expressed pleasure in watching transgender pornography. There was even a story about him peeping on women in showers. Despite the allegations, Robinson not exiting the race for North Carolina governor.
We are staying in this race. We are in it to win it.
He posted a video to social media just before CNN released its story.
Let me reassure you, the things that you will see in that story, those are not the words of Mark Robinson.
One of the reported posts from Robinson said, quote, I like watching tranny on girl porn. And yeah, I'm a perv too, end quote. And in a reported 2018 Facebook post, he called abortion murder and genocide. The lieutenant governor denies the CNN report and writes it off as a political attack.
Clarence Thomas famously once said he was the victim of a high-tech lynching. Well, it looks like Mark Robinson is too, by a man who refuses to stand on stage and debate me about the real issues that face you. Instead, they want to focus on salacious tabloid lies. We're not going to let them do that.
Former President Trump's camp was asked about the report and responded by saying the campaign has its eye on the ball, insisting North Carolina is vital in Trump's path to the White House. I'm Clayton Neville.
The race is on between House Republicans and Senate Democrats to come up with a workable stopgap funding bill and avoid a government shutdown at the end of the month. John Stolnis is following the story from Washington.
Democratic Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer on the Senate floor yesterday, making it clear they are ready to take the lead on a continuing resolution.
Now that their efforts have failed, House Republicans don't seem to have any plan for actually keeping the government open. So the Senate will step in.
However, Republican House Appropriations Committee Chair Tom Cole said yesterday they are preparing a measure that would keep the government's doors open through December. Reports indicate a new funding bill would not contain the SAVE Act, legislation favored by Republicans that would empower the federal government to enforce laws prohibiting non-citizens from voting in elections. Former President Donald Trump has urged fellow Republicans to shut the government down if the SAVE Act is not a part of a temporary funding bill.
Democrats and Americans don't want a Trump shutdown. I dare say most Republicans, at least in this chamber, don't want to see a Trump shutdown. And the American people certainly don't want their elected representatives in Washington creating a shutdown for the sake of Donald Trump's ridiculous claims when it's clear he doesn't even know how the legislative process works.
On Wednesday, 14 Republicans joined 3 Democrats to defeat a 6-month continuing resolution that did contain the SAVE Act. Republican Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell said on Tuesday a government shutdown is the last thing anyone should want.
My only observation about this whole discussion is the one thing you cannot have is a government shutdown. It would be politically beyond stupid for us to do that right before the election, because certainly we'd get the blame.
TheHill.com reports text of a House bill could be ready for members to see by the weekend, with the goal of voting on it by the middle of next week, before any Senate-backed plan. John Stolnis, Washington.
Update on Hunter Biden's federal firearms charge when America in the Morning continues after these messages. Welcome back. Here with America in the Morning and what we're looking at with the national forecast. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
We are looking at a fairly quiet weather map across the nation today and tonight. However, there is a system moving through the Midwest this morning across the western Great Lakes that will continue to move eastward this morning with a few showers and thunderstorms along it. A few of these storms could have gusty winds and briefly heavy rainfall through parts of Michigan into northern Indiana and northwest Ohio. There will be a few scattered afternoon thunderstorms also developing over the portions of the western plains from West Texas into eastern New Mexico and continuing into western Kansas. A few of these storms could also contain stronger winds. The rest of the plains into the Ohio and Mississippi valleys will remain largely dry with plenty of sunshine and temperatures well above the historical average. Highs will run in the 70s and 80s across the northern plains and warm well into the 100s across the southern plains, with mid-90s as far east as central Ohio. Some of these locations will be as much as 20 degrees above the historical average, and some records are likely to fall, especially in portions of Oklahoma. Across the east, there will be some clouds and a few showers near the coast, with an area of steadier rain in parts of southeast New England from a storm that is just offshore. This will keep temperatures near the New England coast in the 60s, but it will warm quickly into the 70s and 80s for areas inland. In the west, it will be fairly quiet with just a few scattered afternoon thunderstorms over the higher elevations in parts of Arizona and Utah. That's the weather across America. Dallas, Texas will have plenty of sunshine today and a hot afternoon with a high near the record of 102. Billings, Montana will be more comfortable with plenty of sunshine and a high of 75. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Don't forget you can follow us wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. I'm John Trout. A shocking scene inside of a rural Kentucky courthouse where a district judge was shot and killed inside his office. Sue Aller reports the man arrested for the shooting was a member of law enforcement.
It happened in his chambers. According to the Mountain Eagle, District Judge Kevin Mullins was shot and killed by someone who is supposed to uphold the law. Authorities have arrested Letcher County, Kentucky Sheriff Mickey Steins in connection to the shooting at the Letcher County Courthouse in Whitesburg. The incident happened Thursday afternoon. Steins immediately surrendered to law enforcement. Governor Andy Beshear offered condolences but did not provide any more details or a motive for the shooting. During the initial chaos, the state police put the Letcher County Central High School on lockdown. The students were later released. Whitesburg in Letcher County is located on the North Fork of Kentucky, about 200 miles southeast of Louisville. I'm Sue Aller.
Hunter Biden's sentencing on federal firearms charges has been delayed until well past a month after the November election. Correspondent Mike Hempen reports.
Hunter Biden will be sentenced on federal firearms charges December 4th. The judge has agreed to a delay requested by Biden's lawyers, who say they need more time to prepare. Biden was scheduled to be sentenced November 13th. In June, President Biden's son was convicted in Delaware federal court of 3 felonies for purchasing a gun in 2018, when prosecutors say he lied on a federal form by claiming he was not illegally using or addicted to drugs. The gun charge charges are punishable by up to 25 years in prison. But it's possible Hunter Biden will likely face far less time behind bars or possibly avoid prison time entirely. I'm Mike Hempen.
In sports, the New York Jets take a decisive 24-3 win over the New England Patriots. Interest rate drop by the Fed spikes Wall Street. Business news is next. America in the Morning continues after these messages. Welcome back. This is America in the Morning. The Business Report is brought to you by Fisher Investments. Fisher Investments is a fiduciary, always putting clients' interests first. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. Here's CNBC's Jessica Ettinger with the Friday Report.
Wall Street opens this morning after that rate cut rally yesterday. Investors cheered the half percentage point interest rate cut by the Federal Reserve. With more cuts to come, the Dow topped 42,000 for the first time. Both the Dow and the S&P 500 index hit fresh record highs.
We've already been on this big 8-day win streak in the S&P 500. I think you already were kind of pretty well priced for a soft landing. So the question from here is just incrementally how much better it can get.
CNBC's Mike Santoli. Lots of Americans have retirement accounts with S&P 500 index funds in them. Year to date, you're up just about 20% as of this morning. Gold closed at another all-time high yesterday, $2,614 an ounce. The United Auto Workers Union is warning of a potential strike at Ford and at Jeep parent Stellantis. This comes a year after an unprecedented work stoppage at General Motors. Meantime, the largest port on the U.S. East Coast, the Port of New York, New Jersey, is starting to prepare for what could be its first union strike since 1977. The latest labor market data show a solid situation for jobs in this country. Fewer people applied for unemployment benefits last week, and jobless claims fell to their lowest in 4 months.
Initial jobless claims, 219,000, much less than we were expecting. The smallest month-over-month initial jobless claims since May.
CNBC's Rick Santelli. Walmart announced its holiday deals sale for next month. It's competing with Amazon and Target sales that have already been announced. Walmart says it's offering an inflation-free Thanksgiving meal at a lower price than last year, about $7 a person. It serves up to 10 people, and they say you can gift the meal to neighbors, friends, or family.
The numbers are in on home sales last month. How were they?
You know, they actually fell in August, even though more homes were on the market to buy. Prices also hit a new record high.
Tight supply is keeping the pressure on prices. The median price of an existing home sold in August was $416,700. That is up 3.1% year over year. Now, part of that is skewed toward what's actually selling because it's a median. So sales are up significantly for homes priced above $750,000, but down for anything priced below $500,000. Still, it is the highest median price for August ever.
CNBC's Diana Olick. On today's watch list, it is the final trading day of summer. Fall arrives on Sunday morning. Apple's new iPhones, the iPhone 16 and other devices, they're available to buy today. New in theaters, Paramount's Transformers 1 and Lionsgate's Never Let Go.
Thank you, CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. Biden, Harris, and Zelensky. When America in the Morning continues after these messages. You're with America in the Morning. Welcome back. Police were finally able to get close to the SUV that caused the pipeline fire in suburban Houston that's been burning for days. Correspondent Haya Panjwani reports on what they found inside the melted car.
Officials say human remains have been found inside an SUV that authorities say hit an above-ground valve on a pipeline in suburban Houston, causing a fire that has burned for up to 4 days. With the fire substantially smaller since it began, police were able to access the area around the pipeline in Deer Park. Residents in Deer Park, like Robert Blair, say they've seen a lot in their area, but never this.
We were hoping we were far enough away from the refineries that none of this would happen like this, but I guess anything can happen.
Blair says he's upset.
Yeah, I don't think it should have ever happened. It's frustrating to put us out. The kids are going to probably be upset when they see their park.
Authorities have offered few details on why the vehicle hit the pipeline valve. I'm Haya Panjwani.
Efforts are underway in Nebraska to change the law ahead of the November election. With less than 7 weeks until Election Day, all 5 Republicans who represent the state in Congress are pushing for Nebraska to return to a winner-take-all system of awarding electoral votes. Under the state's current hybrid system, its electoral votes are split. 2 go to the winner of the statewide popular vote, and the other 3 are based on who wins the popular vote in each of Nebraska's 3 U.S. House districts. Recent polling shows Kamala Harris winning 1 district, while Donald Trump would take the other 4 votes. The White House announces Ukraine's leader will travel to Washington for an Oval Office meeting with President Biden and Vice President Harris next week. Washington correspondent Sagar Magani reports.
Volodymyr Zelensky's visit here to the White House will come as he pushes the U.S. to let Ukraine use Western-provided long-range missiles for striking deeper inside Russia. The administration is not convinced, amid fears loosening the restrictions would not only have limited impact, but also provoke Vladimir Putin. He's warned Russia will be at war with the U.S. and NATO if the weapons are used. Officials say they want more details on how Kyiv would use them and how they fit into broader war strategy. Sagar Magani at the White House.
America in the Morning for Friday, September 20th, 2024 is produced by Jeff McKay. Senior producer Kevin Delaney. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
Israel says it's entering a new phase in the war in the Middle East. I'm Clayton Neville.
Both Kamala Harris and Donald Trump on the campaign trail yesterday and today. I'm Jeff McKay with the details.
The scientific director of OceanGate testified the sub malfunctioned just prior to the fatal dive. I'm Ed Donahue.
It was a married couple who discovered remains that authorities believe were a man who opened fire on a Kentucky highway. I'm Haya Panjwani.
President Biden says the interest rate cut is an indication of economic progress. I'm Pamela Furr.
Federal Reserve interest rate cuts help the crypto markets.
An heroic act pulled off on a Michigan highway. I'm Bob Brown. I'll have that story next.
We're back after these messages. This is America in the Morning. Hot and dry conditions persist today. With the national outlook, here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Across many of the plain states into the Ohio and Mississippi valleys, it'll remain largely dry with plenty of sunshine and temperatures well above the historical average. Highs will run into the 70s and 80s across the northern plains and warm well into the 100s across the southern plains with mid-90s as far east as central Ohio. Some of these locations will be as much as 20 degrees above the historical average, and some records are likely to fall, especially in portions of Oklahoma. While much of the nation is generally going to be quiet, there is a system moving through the Midwest this morning and across the western Great Lakes. It will continue to move eastward this morning with a few showers and thunderstorms along it. A few of these storms will have gusty winds and briefly heavy rainfall. And that will be most likely to occur through portions of Michigan into northern Indiana and northwest Ohio. There will also be a few scattered afternoon thunderstorms developing over the western plain states from West Texas into eastern New Mexico and then northward into western Kansas. A few of these storms could also contain some stronger winds. Across the east, there will be some clouds and a few showers near the coast with an area of steadier rain in parts of southeast New England from a storm that is just offshore. This will keep temperatures near the New England coast in the 60s, but it will warm well into the 70s and 80s quickly for locations inland. And in the west, it's also going to be fairly quiet. We'll have a few scattered afternoon thunderstorms over the higher elevations in parts of Arizona and Utah. It is going to remain comfortable across much of the west with highs in the 60s and 70s across the north and warming into the 80s and 90s in the south, which is about 5 to 10 degrees below the historical average. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
I'm John Trout. Remember to follow us wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. Israel launched a series of strikes on Hezbollah targets after missiles rained down in Israel's north following 2 days of deadly explosions triggered in wireless devices, including pagers. ABC News is reporting that Israel had a hand in manufacturing the pagers that were purchased by Hezbollah, an operation that was planned for at least 15 years. Correspondent Clayton Neville has the latest.
The Israeli army said in a statement that it will continue to operate against the threat of Hezbollah and reported that it hit at least 30 Hezbollah targets in southern Lebanon, including a weapons storage facility. Tensions clearly rising. The Lebanese health minister says that the last 2 days of explosions in Lebanon were triggered remotely with explosives inside pagers or walkie-talkies and have killed at least 37 people, wounded nearly 3,000. 2 IDF soldiers were killed by Hezbollah rockets in the north on Thursday. Israel's defense minister said we're in a new phase of war that includes opportunities but also significant risks. The U.S. still working closely on a potential ceasefire deal in Gaza, meanwhile, as Israel retaliates for the October 7th attacks by Hamas.
Friends of the United States are united in calling for restraint and urging de-escalation when it comes to the Middle East in general and when it comes to Lebanon in particular.
Defense Department Deputy Spokesperson Sabrina Singh.
Secretary Austin spoke by phone with his Israeli counterpart, Minister of Defense Gallant, to review regional security developments and reiterate unwavering U.S. support for Israel in the face of threats from Iran, Lebanese Hezbollah, and Iran's other regional partners. The Secretary emphasized the U.S. commitment to deterring regional adversaries, de-escalating tensions across the region, and reaffirmed the priority of reaching a ceasefire deal that will bring home hostages held by Hamas.
Former President Trump speaking of the escalating violence on the campaign trail.
We're 2 weeks away from the one-year anniversary of the worst attack on the Jewish people since the Holocaust.
Focused now on Israel's northern border, the 98th Division reportedly being deployed from Gaza battlefields to the north. The IDF said that the commitment of the commanders and the troops is complete with peak readiness for any task that'll be required. I'm Clayton Neville.
Both candidates for president made appearances on Thursday, with Donald Trump at an event in Washington and Kamala Harris in a town hall hosted by Oprah Winfrey, and continue their busy battleground schedules today. America in the Morning's Jeff McKay has details.
Vice President Kamala Harris was in the battleground state of Michigan, where she joined Oprah Winfrey for a live-streamed Unite for America event that was aimed to register voters and bolster support for the Democratic nominee. Former President Donald Trump was in Washington, where he joined Republican megadonor Miriam Adelson for an event focused on fighting anti-Semitism and addressed the Israeli-American Council. With Oprah, Harris discussed abortion with the family of a woman who died waiting for a medical procedure doctors did not perform due to that state's abortion laws.
These abortion bans have been passed that criminalize health care providers. In a couple of states, prison for life, Oprah. Prison for life in a couple of states for a doctor or a nurse who provides health care.
Even when the mother's life is in danger.
But see, here's the problem with that. So is she on death's door before you actually decide to give her help?
Harris was also asked how she felt when President Biden asked her to take his place on the Democratic ticket.
You know, we each have those moments in our lives where it's time to step up.
Time to step up.
Time to step up, you know?
Well, the moment you heard, I mean, I really have been saying to people, it felt like a veil dropped and you sort of stepped through that veil. Did you feel like that?
I felt a sense of responsibility. Mm-hmm. To be honest with you. And with that comes a sense of purpose.
Trump took aim at colleges, demanding they step up and stop anti-Semitic activity against Jews on campus.
My first week back in the Oval Office, my administration will inform every college president that if you do not end anti-Semitic propaganda, they will lose their accreditation and federal taxpayer support.
Trump also put Jews on notice and says that unless he wins, Israel, he claims, will no longer exist.
I wasn't treated properly by the voters who happen to be Jewish. I don't know, do they know what the hell is happening? If I don't win this election, and the Jewish people would really have a lot to do with that if that happens, because at 40%, that means 60% of the people are voting for the enemy. Israel, in my opinion, will cease to exist within 2 years, and I believe I'm 100% right.
Today, Donald Trump will attend a town hall in Arizona, while Kamala Harris will be holding rallies in Wisconsin and Georgia. I'm Jeff McKay in Washington.
New developments related to the implosion of the Titan submersible as it traveled to the wreck of the Titanic. Correspondent Ed Donahue reports on testimony showing the sub had a malfunction days before the fatal dive.
Problems arise. This is never really sold as a Disney ride. This was an expedition where things happen and you have to adapt to change. That was, at least for me, it was very clear.
The scientific director of OceanGate, the company that owned the Titan submersible that imploded last year while on its way to the Titanic wreckage, testified the sub malfunctioned just prior to the fatal dive. Stephen Ross told a Coast Guard board there was a platform valve malfunction just days before the implosion.
The platform had a valve malfunction and the bow of the platform submerged, tilting the platform and the submersible to about a 45-degree angle.
Ross says the pilot, OceanGate co-founder Stockton Rush, crashed into a bulkhead. Other passengers tumbled about.
One passenger was hanging upside down, and the other two managed to wedge themselves into the bow end cap.
Stockton Rush was one of the 5 people killed days later in the implosion. The Coast Guard released new video of Titan on the ocean floor. I'm Ed Donahue.
Prison uprising in Massachusetts. Crypto markets react to Fed decision. And Friday sports with Robert Workman. That and more when America in the Morning continues after these messages. Welcome back to America in the Morning. I'm John Trout. Police have yet to announce if the remains found near a highway in Kentucky is that of Joseph Couch, but the couple that found the body believes that is the suspect wanted in the Kentucky highway shootings. Correspondent Hempen reports.
The couple says the community's concerns led them to spend days in rugged terrain looking for the shooter. Kentucky State Police credited Fred and Sheila McCoy with helping investigators find what they believed are the remains of Joseph Couch.
Go ahead.
You won't believe it. We found him. We found him. Oh, my goodness gracious. It was gross. It's horrible. But, whoa.
That audio is courtesy of Sheila and Fred McCoy. The McCoys filmed in dense woods after they saw vultures in the air. Sheila said she could smell a foul odor.
Now, this little area can rest.
Couch is suspected of firing at vehicles on Interstate 75 on September 7th, wounding 5 people before he went missing. Teams of searchers have covered tens of thousands of forest land acres since the shooting. I'm Hempen.
President Biden is celebrating the Federal Reserve's decision to cut interest rates this week for the first time in 4 years. Pamela Furr reports.
Speaking at the Economic Club in Washington, Biden says
interest rates are going to be coming down, and they're expected to go down further. And that's a good place for us to be.
On Wednesday, the Fed announced it would reduce its key rate by an unusually large 0.5 percentage point between 4.75 and 5%.
It's good news, in my view, for the overall economy, because lower borrowing costs will support economic growth. And it's an important signal from the Federal Reserve to the nation that after repeated interest hikes to cool down inflation has come back down.
Polls show Americans remain deeply worried about the economy and inflation, and Biden says he understands.
I'm not here to take a victory lap. I'm not here to say a job well done. I'm not here to say we don't have a hell of a lot more work to do. We do have more work to do.
Now, the feds have signaled more rate cuts could be coming in the months ahead, which would help bring down the cost of credit card debt, auto loans, or a new mortgage. I'm Pamela Furr.
Investigators are looking into an attack on correctional officers at a prison in Massachusetts. Correspondent Rita Foley reports.
2 correctional officers were stabbed by inmates at a maximum security prison in Massachusetts. 3 others were injured as they responded. All 5 officers were taken from the prison in Lancaster to hospitals. No details on their injuries. The spokesman for the Massachusetts Department of Corrections said afterwards the facility is secure and an investigation will learn the facts and the circumstances. The Massachusetts Correction Officers Federated Union posted online, and we're quoting, "How much more do our members have to endure before you decide to keep them safe? The inmates are literally running the asylum. Do your jobs," the Post said. I'm Rita Foley.
The Fed's lowering of interest rates was positive news for the crypto markets. Here's Chuck Palm with that in today's Tech Report.
After the Federal Reserve slashed interest rates by 50 points on Wednesday, the crypto markets have responded with a rally. Riskier investments such as digital assets and U.S. equities tend to do better in low interest rate economies. That being said, an all-time high for Bitcoin was at $73,700 in March, mostly due to the approval of exchange-traded funds. But when it comes to the Bitcoin market, the so-called September effect may not have any impact on Bitcoin prices whatsoever. Thanks to the Fed, Bitcoin trading may be experiencing an Uptober sooner than predicted. Most cryptos usually consider it a good sign when their cryptocurrency mirrors the market. After the Bitcoin halving, the prevalent theory was that crypto was finished even after being given permission to exchange futures on an open market. Traditionally, radical swings in an election year will affect the price of crypto depending on which side is promoting it. Bitcoin up to 63,000 and Ethereum up to 2450. Follow me on X for more crypto news at Chuck Palm.
Friday Sports is in with America in the Morning's Robert Workman.
What a day for Shohei Ohtani and the Dodgers Thursday. They romped over the Marlins 20-4, clinching a playoff spot for the 12th year in a row. Ohtani drove in 10 of those runs, going 6 for 6 with 3 homers. That gives him 51 on the season. And he stole 2 bases, bringing that total up to 51 as well. He's the first member ever of the 50-50 club. Ohtani did all that in the ballpark in Miami, where he struck out Mike Trout to give Japan the title at the World Baseball Classic last year. You do recall that he can pitch a little bit too, right? Braves hit 6 home runs and routed the Reds. Chris Sale gets his 18th win to lead the majors. Mets kept the Phillies from clinching a playoff spot. Mariners nipped the Yankees a day after those New Yorkers locked up an October date. Guardians trimmed the Twins in 10, securing their berth in the postseason. Orioles got a walk-off tater from Tony Taters. Anthony Santander beat the Giants.
We need it a lot. We've been struggling, but we just need good momentum to the playoffs next week, and that was a great win for us.
His 42nd trails only Ohtani and Aaron Judge. Diamondbacks dropped the Brewers. Brandon Pfaadt struck out 12, including 7 in a row. Rays shut out the Red Sox. Blue Jays blanked the Rangers. Astros, Pirates, and Cubs win. NFL Week 3 kicked off with the Jets soaring past the Patriots. Aaron Rodgers threw a couple of touchdown passes. A full slate coming up on Sunday, plus a Monday night doubleheader. College football goes into Week 4. Race number 3 in the NASCAR playoffs is Saturday night in Bristol, and NHL preseason games get underway Saturday night as well. The regular season, 2 weeks away. That's Friday Sports.
Robert Workman on sports. Movie-worthy hero cop. The story When America in the Morning continues after these messages. This is America in the Morning. Thanks for listening. A new Transformers movie is hitting theaters this weekend, this time as an animated film. Kevin Carr has a sneak peek at Transformers 1.
A popular cinematic franchise is transforming into animation and rolling out with a new film.
It's time to show them we are more than meets the eye.
Transformers 1 is a prequel that shows the origins of hero Optimus Prime and villain Megatron.
For thousands of years, we have been at war. But before we were enemies, we were like brothers.
The story goes back to their homeworld when they were young robots who fought together against an oppressive leader.
Now is the time for us to stand up together as one.
I don't care how much the other movies have made, having a Transformers movie free of the chaos and beer commercial filmmaking of Michael Bay is a breath of fresh air. Sure, it's still noisy, cluttered, and bombastic, but at least this movie is coherent.
I want to help build a better world. Like you said, we can be so much more.
As an animated film, it taps into the sugar cereal-fueled excitement of Saturday morning cartoons, so it should be a winner for the kids that have any Transformer in their toy box.
I'm actually working on some nicknames. The one I'm floating right now is Badassatron, which is actually pronounced Badassatron.
It does have a limited reach to the adults in the room, but it mercifully doesn't overstay its welcome, unlike most of the bloated live-action movies in the series.
Awesome! That's what I'm talking about!
Come for the robots and stay for the childlike fun. Transformers 1 gets 3 Autobots out of 5. I'm Kevin Carr, and that's the way I see it.
What happened on a Michigan highway was straight out of a movie script and was nothing short of a miracle. Bob Brown reports on a hero police officer who climbed from her police cruiser into a moving car to help save the life of the driver.
It was last Thursday, September 12th, shortly after 2 p.m., when Macomb County deputies Nicole Myron and Anthony Gross got the call about a pickup truck driving erratically on a busy Michigan highway in Mount Clemens. Their patrol car pulling side by side with the pickup, a man behind the wheel appeared dazed, but eventually was able to roll down the window. Deputy Myron telling Detroit's WXYZ TV she attempted to crawl into the vehicle.
I just was trying to think of any way possible to stop the vehicle and try to get his attention. Nothing we were really doing was working.
But she knew she had to keep trying with the chances the pickup could cause a crash.
Once I get in, I realized the park's right at the steering wheel. I put it in the park immediately as soon as I got the vehicle, checked on him. He was just in a daze. He wasn't sure what was really going on.
All her partner can do was to keep pace with the car at 5 miles an hour.
Once she started hanging out the window, I was just trying to keep us in line with him. I just focused on this mirror and his mirror, just trying to keep us in line.
First responders had taken the 63-year-old man to the hospital after appearing to have experienced a medical episode. Macomb County Sheriff Anthony Wickersham praising Deputy Myron, saying with her quick thinking and selfless actions, she safely ended what could have been a tragic situation. But she said she was just doing her job.
The other officer, I think, would have done the same if they had to do it. I mean, you're in those positions. These are things we're doing every day, and, we're trying to come up with, a fix to the problem, and that was the fix.
I'm Bob Brown.
That's our show for today, Friday, September 20th, 2024. America in the Morning is produced by Jeff McKay. Senior producer Kevin Delaney. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.